So, I want people to think real quick. Forget about me for a moment. Let's assume that I'm telling the truth what I am about everything on this channel, what I definitely am. And I'm no longer around when I'm not going to be. I mean, we all eventually disappear and die. Nobody lives forever. If it's true, I can guarantee you also that there are other children who grew up like me in Massachusetts. Not as bad. They didn't have my mother, but, or they didn't have a family like I do. I mean, I've never seen somebody wait so long seeing bones, sickness. I mean, it must have been clear to a lot of the family members that I was sickly and sick. She was unstable and something was going on. I mean, that had to be, that had to be obvious to everybody. I mean, even though you're blaming the child at 7 years old, I mean, they must have known. He must have known that she was bullshitting most of the time. I mean, she did bring me to Texas. She did move me halfway across the country and we lost contact, so. Anyways. Oh, see, that's the chest. I'm okay with, the mold hurting me. What's funny, it's the 25-year-old disorder of shaking that really gets me. If that wasn't affecting me, I could just drive out here and stay in my car. That's why the real problem is the pills and the overdose and the fact that I can't get medical care for anything. And it's based off of fantasies my mother had. Absolutely. Oh, Zach's depressed because he's living in the woods as a 19-year-old and he's on depressants through a large amount of time and he's being abused in a very unusual way he doesn't know how to deal with. I mean, what kid does? Do you really think any 7-year-old is going to take feeling like that really well? Do you think losing their vision, not being able to feel their hands and walk, do you think a child is going to like that? How about the extra Epicac? Extra medicine. Do you think a child can process that? How about the mother acting very weird, like trying to convince you have illnesses? Like if you're sad, you're depressed. If you have a side effect, it's an illness. If you're playing with action figures, you're schizophrenic. If you show them a medal, you're a liar, a thief, and you have a attachment disorder. That can affect your child in really bad ways. Luckily, I'm over the psychological damage. I still have PTSD. I will always remember what my mother did to me, my adopted mother. But I'm not over the physical illnesses. And this has already been sent to many parties and it will be keep on being sent more broadly out as I get sicker. And this isn't the only, we got hard copies as well being sent out. So if anybody thinks they can make this just disappear, forget about it. I spoke up from day one at age 5. I didn't keep this no damn secret. The only reason why that I am still in this situation is a mother took evasive action because I was speaking up. But she's not here anymore. It's me, my father, and my mother that truly know what happened in those households and in those places. And I know doctors have a lot if we just went to look. Now, I can't drive. I can't walk. I can barely talk if I move. I've been having trouble for a long time. Even as a teenager, it was very clear I was having trouble grabbing on the balls and stuff during winter, like footballs or different stuff. I had numbness in my hands a lot when it was not cold. We're not talking about cold, by the way. We're talking about everybody else fine, 60, 55, not cold numbness. We're not talking about that. We're talking about 24/7 numbness in house, outside, all the time. During summer, I'm still numb, but it does get a little better. I have a lot more motion during warm weather. Also, when I go to sleep, I sleep a lot better. if I warm up the nervous system. But if one breeze comes in, I go into a full body spasm at 14. A window next to me, a window of my body would spasm and wake me up. So I had to keep it real warm. This is nothing new to anybody. And there are documentation of this going on. But my mother will call it anxiety. She'll call it an allergy attack. She'll say it never happened. I'm making up fantasies. I'm a liar. I'm a thief. Get out of here. He's a fuck him. He's a drunk. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's a mental illness. Whatever gets her off the hook. I was on Thorazine, and now I can't walk. That might not mean anything at all. But somebody told me that that might be connected. Has a single doctor looked into that? No. Now, can I prove that these medicines were given to me all the way back to childhood in Westford? Absolutely. In Westford, there was handfuls of medication, and my mother must have got those from someplace. There was lots of medications being given to me in Westford. And at the age of 7, I reported everything that scared me. At the age of 8, I reported everything that scared me. If you're going to scare the living shit out of a child, don't be surprised when he speaks up at a doctor. But what I should have been surprised about is that my mother was going to hurt me and take evasive action. I didn't know that adults did that. I didn't know that they could lie, manipulate, and do things like that. But they can. And this is what happens to me. This is why this is going to go out more broad. It's already gone out on hard copies to certain individuals in my family. But it's going to continue, and that's my family's very broad. We got biological, adopted. We even got family that I've picked that have helped me in great ways. Speaking of that, I need to find Freddie. Yeah, there's a funny guy named Freddie Pepe. I haven't seen him in years. He was a family member to me for sure. Anyways, yes. I'm trying to keep a positive outlook. I can't walk really well, but if I get the GI fixed, this isn't that hard. It's just like maybe a kidney infection, a GI. The hard part about it is I'm being refused medical care because of the way they're treating me. They're treating every illness like a mental illness for 25 years, no matter what it is. Broken leg, I pulled a muscle, whatever it is. I'm instantly treated like it's a mental illness, and that's because that's how my mother wanted it. It always happened that way. No matter what my real injury was, it always went down as a mental illness. Always. I sliced the back of my heel open, and from jumping in a pool, I must be self-harming, they said. Still on to this day, I have self-harming on my record for accidental injuries. Not only that, whenever I bumped into stuff and my shins were always cut up, that my mother said that was self-harming too. This is messed up stuff because that follows you around. And then you can't get medical care for your real injuries. And then also, if you do that to your child, they will become self-harmers eventually. They will. You're fucking with their head. Luckily, I was able to unfuck my head. Oh my God, you can't imagine the shit that I went through. You really, really can't. And that's why I have to document it with pictures and describe exactly in full detail what happened. And it's terrible. It's terrible that I had to unpack this. I really thought I had a million mental illnesses. I really did. I thought every single scratch and bump and things were mental illnesses. I thought every time I was sad, I was depressed. I thought if I had a side effect from a medication, then that meant I was mentally ill. And then all of a sudden, when I stopped taking drugs, everything but the numbness and the nervous system issue stopped. I got help for anxiety and PTSD, learned the difference of what anxiety is, what PTSD is, what causes it, how to process it, what anxiety is versus a neurological issue, neuropathy is very different than anxiety. The tingling sensation of anxiety is different than when you're not having an anxiety attack in 24/7 a day through your whole life, you're dropping things. Those are actually different. If you have it all over your body too, that's neuropathy. If you can, if you seem to be bumping into stuff and your shins are always cut up, that's not anxiety. But I really believed that bumping into stuff all the time and not feeling it had to do with my anxiety. I really thought that losing my vision and not feeling anything on my body and not being able to walk, talk, and then my breathing slowing down, passing out. I thought all that stuff was an allergy attack, even though it happened right after I was administered multiple medications, even though my mother never wanted me to go to the emergency room. My mother refused to bring me to the emergency room when the people on the phone suggested that she should. I asked her about this growing up as well. I brought it up in front of doctors. I now know what's going on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Also, bipolar. My mother pushed for bipolar medication over and over and over. She convinced me that if I took uppers and I felt hyper like I was all the time, because I would just take Ritalin, and that was supposed to keep me nice and calm, but I'm always hyper already. So if I'm any sign of hyper and then I take a depressant later and go down, I'll go up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm up, take a Ritalin, a little down. Up, take a sedative, down. Up, take another sedative, down. But then, once when I stop taking drugs, I'm just level. I'm up and level. Now, sometimes I have to talk about PTSD stuff in this videos, and it's super hard. It is super hard. And I am in a lot of pain in the kidneys, and I have a lot of physical health issues. But if you saw me at work in the last 8 years, or you saw me deal with a lot of the public who's mentally ill, or some of the roommates I take on, or some of the people I help, or the cats I take care of, or the vet appointments, or all the stuff I do, you would know that I actually am very, very mentally strong. I'm also a very strong individual. It's just that when I get an infection or something affects this 25-year-old pre-existing condition, it really affects me. And I also can't get proper medical care. So if anything serious happens to me, I have to treat myself. The doctors never really treat me. Any physical ailment, antibiotics is the best I could get from them. That's it. And I have to fight tooth and nail for them. It's not easy, and they're just the way it is. Even when I catch the flu, I just don't get treatment like everybody else, and that has to do with the medical records I have. And I understand I have to wait for somebody to take responsibility before I could change that, or I have to make enough money to really try to change that myself. But I can't drive or put other people at harm with my legs and arms shaking like this, so it's kind of like a catch-22. So that's very stressful for me. And that's why most of the time I don't really deal with this mostly in the public. I keep it short, sweet, and I just say, that's a dark area. You won't like the answers. They don't need to know. They see it themselves. If they see it and they ask, I will give basic answers to a point. But as far as doctors, family, friends go, they get honest answers, straight to the point. I would never lie. Absolutely never. Some of this sounds ridiculous, like orphans can be held down and given medicine twice. That's fucked up shit. But I've seen it happen to me and another orphan. Not only that, in other different hospitals they can do it. Because they say you didn't take your medicine or you cheeked it, or they come up with some excuse like that. But it's fine if the kid is cheeking it and you have the pill in your hand or you see it in their mouth. But sometimes the staff members aren't trained proper. And that's when it's a game to the kids and people get hurt. And this is the problem with not having any parents or guardians or anybody present, is that people can get hurt when there's drugs and medicine involved. And the family I was put in was too old to administer medications. My mother was definitely not able to administer medications, and I've suffered for 25 years for that. But when I have to talk about this, it does make me sound a little upset, because it's upsetting I'm not getting help for it. Once when I get help for it, I think that would definitely be great, because I've already got the help mentally, but I need some like physical help. Like I'm gonna need some more medication from a neurologist. I mean, like epilepsy, kind of like the Trileptal, but something more targeted to whatever this is. Maybe something for the neuropathy. I don't know. I've had it for so long, and like gabapentin makes it worse, so I can't take that. That's why I don't ask that much for it. I have asked for that when the shakes get bad, but it doesn't help with the numbness. It helps with the shakes in the nervous system, but it doesn't help with the numbness in the skin. And both of those go back really, really long. Don't forget about the stomach issues either, what I'm sure is from a combination of things. I mean, before I was 10 years old, the stuff I was going through would fuck up a kid's stomach. And we have documentation of some of that too. And it's not like my mother didn't admit it. That's part of the problem too. My mother was admitting stuff in front of doctors and family members. And that's really why it would be probably best for my family to step in and help me, because if I disappear, those records aren't going to be used to help them. Absolutely not. Those records look like a horror show. If you put my information with those records, it does not make a good picture. And I just want to help everybody. That's it. I want to stay alive, and I want to make this world a better place. That's all I ever wanted. I wanted a home and a family. Now I can make both of those myself, but I need my help to do it. And I can't if I can't go to the doctor because of a woman that passed away in 2011 that needed some mental health, and that the state thought that this was okay to go on, and my family thinks that this was okay to go on. Well, that's a bad decision right there. That's a terrible decision. And I, I'm lucky that all I did was drugs. Jesus. I mean, I've seen so many people lose their mental health forever for stuff like this. They never get back to reality. They never get the strength I have. They never can build a support group. They can't help elderly 83-year-olds and these other mentally ill people because they're not able to process the abuse like I did. I know it's wrong. I know what I'm going to need is health care. And I know I'm not going to live the life of anybody else. Like, I might never be able to fully drive until a neurologist really helps, and that might not even be a point. We might only get 50% there. And that's if I get the help now with the GI, with basic stuff. But like I said, it's almost impossible for me to get health care with people trying to purposely cover this up. And this is why I sent out so many of these pictures and childhood pictures and letters and the name of the town and the doctors that we went to and the records that would be printed out on paper, stuff like that. I can't drive around, and I don't got like that type of ability or strength. But there is a lot of people that do. And most of it has only been sent to my family. The rest of it is to be sent on death or close to death. Because when you got a dead body involved, it helps. But I don't want to get to that point. I would like to get the help now. I would like to get the help. I mean, it's just a GI. That's I got to get that on my own. That I'll go on. I'll find a doctor on my own to help me with that. That's GI isn't that big a deal. The kidneys are probably just an infection or something, and they should just give me antibiotics. But they're just acting stupid. These doctors just keep on acting like it's a mental illness, and that's the problem there. And that's because they've been told for years and 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 years by my mother not to listen to me because everything's a mental illness. And now they're being told probably by somebody else like my father, it's a mental illness, don't listen, let him die. It's a mental illness, please kill him, kill him, kill him, he's talking too much, kill him. I bet there are people in my family that care that little about me that they rather go with my mother's fantasy and make sure I couldn't even get antibiotics. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll just keep on sending these out. And hopefully, even if I don't get to live, at least maybe I can help this not happen to other children. And then they can get the health care they need, because nobody should go without health care because a crazy woman wanted to do these things to a child.